Okay, in the United States, it is now shown that 1 out of 3 people are insulin resistant. And what does that mean? That's a fancy name for saying you got way too much sugar in your blood. And it is highly affecting your metabolic health. It's no surprise to me that 1 out of 3 people in the United States have insulin resistance, and also 1 out of 3 people also have depressive and anxious or anxiety. Okay, now I'm not sure if this is self-reported or reported by physicians, but those are the stats that have come up. To me, that there's no surprise to know it's the same. Hi, my name is Luella Young. I'm a psychotherapist and coach. And if you're interested in how your lifestyle is affecting your mental health, then you're at the right place. On this show, I interview various guests from across the miles and share how their lifestyle choices affects their sense of self, their wealth, and most importantly, their health. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome back to I Think I Can podcast. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to speak on what I feel is, well, frankly, I am sick of hearing about this diet, that diet being the diet. As far as I'm concerned, every frickin' single diet works until one day it doesn't work. And I think most people have it wrong in the sense that they feel, this time it's going to work because I'm lessening my carbohydrates. I'm supplementing with this, my body was lacking whatever. And now I'm doing this. And, with so many different things in life, it really comes down to simplicity. And I want you to approach your health and your weight in terms of just merely being a lifestyle issue. That's all it is. And lifestyle to me is, orchestrated by the behaviors we choose to embark in every single day. We might not think we're choosing to do this, but we are choosing to do it. We're being, and I guess we're being irresponsible if we say, I'm not choosing to do this, or this is my genetics, or, this is who I am. Like, there's something to be said about personality profiles. Like, I think you've probably heard me talk about the Enneagram before, or some of these quizzes that, I even have my clients take, and I really enjoy them. But you got to realize that it's just sort of a cluster of behaviors. And when you fall into that certain cluster of behaviors, you love it because all of a sudden it's like, I belong to a community. Like, other people are, behaving the way I do. And you see, this is just who I am. Stop getting down on me. I'm a number 7 in the Enneagram, or I'm, whatever. I'm not really into these corporate, like Breyers, Briggs, Myers, whatever it is, because I was never in corporate. So I've never had to do a personality, assessment like that, let's say. But I mean, I know that they are helpful in terms of, who am I up against, right? Like, if this certain employee comes out as being XYZ, I know that I should approach this employee like this. And I mean, same with my clients. It does come in handy. I suppose if they come out as somebody who is a people pleaser, or somebody that's more of a rebel or whatever. It really just confirms what I've already seen in the first session, to be honest with you. So maybe, yeah, it's sort of like it's sort of a bias I already have, and it's confirming that bias I have, right? Rarely does somebody do those things, and I'm, super surprised at their results or something like that. So, but I want you to know that you can change your behavior. You just need to pay attention and become self-aware of what your behavior is that you are liking or you're not liking, and take ownership of it and change it. But you can't do that without being self-aware, without knowing, you know, being aware of the thoughts that are in your head. And these thoughts are making you, well, I shouldn't say nothing's making you, but these thoughts are causing you to do a certain behavior, because from your perspective, from the perspective of the actor of the play or the behavior that you're being a part of, it makes a lot of sense, because you've been telling yourself this story, this narrative of why you need to be a certain way, and therefore you're going to behave a certain way. But you got to realize these are just stories in your head, and these stories, these narratives are highly based on your past experiences, how you were raised, who you hung out with in your youth, the type of family you grew up in. Like, I mean, everything is so, like, to me, it's so external. There is some genetics, 100%. Our gene pool that we're from, right? But it's very little. It's very little. It's 20% of who you are. And I am somebody that's 100% behind the idea of, you're the driver of your own life, and you can make it however you want it to be. And if it's not turning out the way you want it to be, there's something that you're not seeing in yourself that others are seeing. And it's your responsibility to figure that out and to change. And I'm no different than you. I am somebody who I feel is quite reflective. I don't like to think that, I'm a certain way and I can't change, so you're just going to have to adapt. I'm trying. I'm very, very much trying to be self-aware. But I'm also not going to allow someone to, project on me whatever stories or narratives that they're saying in their head, to make them feel like taking less responsibility, right? We have to be in relationships that we're both taking responsibility, and we both see the strengths and the weaknesses in each other, and we're going to help each other out through those weaknesses, and we're going to applaud our strengths, and be very grateful that your partner or your employer, has these differences between you and whoever they are, and ask for that help, So here I am, typical Luella, starting on a soup on the whole, like, food and diet and nutrition topic, and off I go on a tangent. I think, if you've been in my world for long enough, you realize this is me. And I think it's an area that I need to improve on, to be very honest with you. And I'm willing to do that. I am making some decisions about trying to do that, speak better, and not go off on tangents. I'm not just going to say, it's my mind. It's just the way I am. I think there's ways of becoming more focused, and I'm doing them. So, okay, let's get back to the topic at hand, which is diet, nutrition, lifestyle. So, there's a reason why I studied functional medicine, right? There's a reason. Well, I was going to say, it wasn't like I was bored, but I do become bored very easily. So again, my brain has lots of different ideas, and I tend to take something and run with it and pulverize it, and then I get tired of it. So anyway, but I studied functional medicine for the long run because I knew I was either going to make a difference in my life, in one of my clients' life, in a family member's life. And to me, that was worth it because I always want to get to the core reason. Same with your emotional health. What is that deep wound that you're still fighting against? That you're still like, is it like that you need to belong? Is it that you feel unworthy? Is it that you don't feel lovable enough? We all carry these core wounds, and they raise their ugly heads, throughout our lifetime. It's something that I don't think can ever be erased. All we get to do is manage it better and to be more aware of, when we get triggered and noticing that and responding to it rather than reacting to it, to have some emotional regulation around it and not go into this victim mode. So the same thing is true in our lifestyle choices. We need to take responsibility for it. So the whole functional medicine plus psychotherapy thing, why? Well, it's because the mind and the body are one. For those, that studied psychology, thinking that, well, I study from the top of the head to the neck, and MDs study from, maybe the entire body or the neck down, or the chiropractor from the neck down, or whatever, the massage therapist from the neck down, or whatever. It's no, it's all one. And I mean, there's so many examples that I'm not going to get into where you cannot argue it's all one. When you become hungry, for example, and you're on a road trip, do you not start noticing, or you really need to go to the washroom and you're on this like road trip, do you not start noticing all the restaurant billboards that are up, more than noticing an advertisement for, a jewelry store or something like that, right? No, you notice all the washroom signs. You are like, you're focused, you become hyper focused on yourself and your need to go to the washroom or to eat, so your mind and your body are one in the same. So how can I treat people? How can I work with my clients and ignore the body when the body is always giving you signs that your mind is not okay? Whether it's your inability to sleep, whether it's your heart racing, and literally feeling like you're having a heart attack. If anybody has gone through panic attacks, they know exactly what I mean. It is like you're being chased by a full-on like grizzly bear, and you think you're dying. So how can you think of even dividing it? And let's be honest, it's kind of interesting. I did look up the stats for on a few different things. I'm not big on numbers because there's so many different variables. I mean, and it's just a point in time. But I did notice something that, okay, in the United States, it is now shown that 1 out of 3 people are insulin resistant. And what does that mean? That's a fancy name for saying you got way too much sugar in your blood. And it is highly affecting your metabolic health. Your blood is now not flowing freely. It is slow and it's sluggish and it's more like honey. Okay, so I don't even have to go into the details of what that's going to do to you, right? I mean, insulin resistance, you hear this mostly in terms of, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 1 being a genetic manifestation of excess sugar in your blood, whereas type 2 is human created. Like, I mean, like this is your lifestyle created this. Or there are other type of forms of insulin resistance that are due to, brain injury or a tumor in your brain because of, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are it's where it all begins, where the cascade of hormones and the signaling begins, where the insulin is told to be secreted by the pancreas, and cortisol and aldosterone and all these other hormones that are highly related with stress and fear, for example. So it's no surprise to me that 1 out of 3 people in the United States have insulin resistance, and also 1 out of 3 people also have been shown to show depressive and anxious or anxiety. Okay, now I'm not sure if this is self-reported or reported by physicians, but those are the stats that have come up to me, that there's no surprise to know it's the same. Okay, so, and that's because you can't eat things out of a bag in a box or by going through, the fast food lane and think that you're not going to be affected in how you think and how smart you are. It's going to show up. You can get away with it in your youth, but as the body ages, it's going to start to show. Okay, so any toxin, any way that you're abusing your body, you're aging yourself faster and you're becoming dumber and you're becoming more inflamed, is the simplest way of saying it. Now, I started off in the podcast by saying it's not that complicated in terms of what to choose to eat. And believe me, I'm not taking this time to tell you to eat more vegetables. I mean, we all know that. But I think I wanted to just highlight why, the why behind your food choices, and in how the mind and the body works in terms of making these lifestyle choices. So I don't think it's really been proven. At least I think it would be very hard to prove this, but There are some great mindful studies out there that are related to food and, like, let's say intuitive eating and things like that. And when you're more mindful when you're eating, that what happens after the food passed your lips, that the food is treated differently by your body. It's digested differently. It causes different hormones to be secreted differently. So what I'm saying is basically we can say that a person, you might think a croissant is a croissant all over the world. The croissant that you pick up at Costco is surely like the croissant that Pierre is having at a cafe by the Eiffel Tower. Well, it's not. It's not for many reasons. Okay, let's just talk about the European, bans that they have on glyphosate, for example, Roundup, and many other herbicides and pesticides. Their wheat kernel is not the same as our wheat kernel. And that croissant was baked by, well, was probably hand twisted, hand formed, and, by using butter that was from a cow that, wasn't eating, first of all, wasn't eating some GMO feed, corn feed. It was eating off the green pastures of, the countryside in France, overlooking a lovely meadow. It was a happy cow, going about a happy life. And it created happy butter. And that butter, made by, made with love by a certain chef, pastry chef, is not going to be digested the same as the croissant that came from a plastic container, mass produced with probably processed oils. And it's being scarfed down by you in your car, in rush hour traffic, on the way to work, while you're worrying about, the fact that you have to give this presentation and you got 20 other thousand things to do that day. And you didn't sign your kids up for swimming lessons yet. It's just, there's no way in hell that the body is going to metabolize that croissant in the same way. There's no way. So my point is, stop scarfing down your food. Eat your food mindfully. I mean, even if you had the croissant from Costco, it would be much better off if you actually sat down at your breakfast table and you slowly ate the croissant, perhaps with your children, talking about their day. It's just, it is partly because of, our food not having the same quality as the food does in Europe, for example. Not all of Europe. I'm making some really blanket statements here, but I'm just using this as an analogy for you to get this whole idea of our lifestyle in North America compared to the lifestyle in Europe. It is different. I don't care what anybody says. I was raised by a Dutch immigrant. I've been to different parts of Europe enough now to notice the changes. And am I telling everybody here to move to Europe? No, I'm not, because there are many wonderful, beautiful things about being in North America. One being the space. and the clean air and all our natural resources that we are so fortunate to have. But we're adopting a lifestyle here of bigger, better, stronger, faster, and it's not working for us. Have you noticed that? It's not. Like I'm saying, 1 out of 3 people are insulin resistant or type 2 diabetic. Um, you know, it's the obesity is on the rise in this, more so in the States than Canada, but I mean, we're not that far behind. And for some reason, the UK as well, it seems I need to figure that out a little bit more. But I mean, the highest rates of diabetes, maybe, or insulin resistance, maybe you're not aware of this, but are China, and second in line is India. And then I think it's the United States. So that's interesting, right? I mean, what has happened in those countries that, where they've fallen off the nutrition wagon as much as they have? Well, again, it's bigger, faster, stronger. It's this idea of time efficiency, and bigger is better. I bet my mom, if I asked her, she would probably remember the time, where Betty Crocker sort of also came into her world. Well, maybe she was too young. I don't know if it was the 40s or the 50s, but when you think of it, like boxed cake mixes, these women must have just thought they won the jackpot. Like, oh my God, what? I add egg, water, and some canola oil, and voila, here I have a cake, rather than gathering all these ingredients. I don't need to, I can just buy Wonder Bread. I don't need to knead it. I don't need to, have a day of making bread. Now I can just buy it. Life is beautiful. Well, there's a cost to it, right? There's a cost to all this efficiency. There's a cost to our mindlessness, our multitasking. There's a very few things that you can do mindlessly and realize that there's a penalty to play for it. Because, a lot of people could argue, well, no, I can talk to my friend or my mom while I fold laundry. That's a mindless task. Well, what if you were very mindful of the way that you were folding the laundry? What if there was perhaps a better way of folding the laundry that you're not able to notice because you're doing 2 tasks at once? And this new way of folding laundry could change your life. Who knows? You could invent something. I don't know. I mean, there's no surprise to me that people's light bulb moments happen when they're in the shower. I mean, I guess some people listen to music in the shower or distract themselves in the shower some other way, but I don't. And that's where most of my deep reflections go, come to that. Or if I'm fortunate enough to be on the lake or in nature and things like that, we got to respect our mind more. We got to give it enough downtime so that, these nuances have the ability to show up in these different ways of noticing things. We become so robotic in life. Like I joke, I think my dog knows me better than I do, because I'm actually recording this on a Saturday, and she's in my office. She's like, I know you don't have clients today, so why aren't you petting me? She was literally just sitting on my carpet a little while ago, kind of looking up at me going, what's going on here? and I mean, she knows all my moves. Like it's incredible. And I think all of us would be a little bit scared to be, on a reality show, right? To have a camera on us all day long watching ourselves, because we would see our behavior, the way we speak, how we approach people, to be very, very robotic. And it just shows how mindlessly we're going about life. So I guess I am telling you to approach food more of the European way in terms of choosing your food. Um, like, yes, just shopping on the periphery of the grocery store and staying away from the middle aisles. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being in Europe too. It's just sort of like first of all, you walk to the store, and there's such small little, stores that it's so nice. You get to know the store owner. You get to know their name. They get to know you. They know exactly how, you like, your meat butchered, or they know exactly the amount of cheese and what type of cheese you pick. And it's just like, I mean, it is so much easier there to eat healthy, I feel. And so I'm not going to tell you that you're doing it all wrong here. It's just that we need to put more effort here. Like we do. We need to say no to the car and maybe walk 30 minutes to get our groceries if we live in the city. We need to access more local produce. We need to support more local businesses, like those small mom and pop shops, the stores and the services that have been around for the last 25 years. Like, don't stop going to them. I don't care if they charge a little bit more. It's all worth it. Believe me, I know the difference in taste between, a local small delicatessens or something like that here, compared to buying, a sliced cheese in a large grocery store, packed in, I don't know, like Toronto or the States, or that have been sitting in plastic for the last 6 months, a year. I don't know. It's like, no, if they're slicing the cheese right in front of you, like, that's totally different. And yes, support these people. Like, in the end, I don't think it's going to, ruin you, like, in terms of, like, we know that groceries are not cheap now, but the bottom line is that I think you're going to feel better, and you're going to be happier, and you're going to be more lovable, and you are going to give more love out when you start loving yourself enough to provide yourself with high quality food, and to slow down and eat your food. And I've spoken about fasting on this podcast enough too, to know that, like, you're not going to perish if you don't have food for 4 hours. You don't have to snack. And I was a big snacker in my lifetime. I think my mom, like, I know she know, like, I remember one birthday I had one time, she gave me like a bunch of different little snack bags of different things. And she says, yeah, I know you're a snacker. And I was like, I think I was like 18 or 19. I thought, am I? But yeah. But now it's quite easy for me to go without food for 4 or 5, or if I do, intermittent fasting, maybe 18 hours without food. Like, your digestive tract needs a break. But more importantly, you're not causing that insulin spike every half hour, every hour. And, to get down to the mechanics of it, like insulin, shuttles your blood glucose into the cell. And if insulin is shooting out over and over and over, your blood, gets rid of the sugar over. And at first that might sound really great, but in order to get the sugar from your blood into the cell, it has to bind to a receptor. Now, those receptors are almost like, you can see it as, a wire that's having electrical shock or signal go through it over and over and over again. After the time, the wire is going to burn out. Your receptors almost get like shut down, dumbed down, because, overstimulation, like too much is too much. So they shut down and they stop working, which means, like the pancreas, like, is told that, hey, there's too much glucose in the blood. We can't get it in the cell. And so it signals the pancreas to secrete more insulin, and more and more and more insulin is now being required in order to get that glucose into the cell. So that's how insulin resistance happens. The sensitivity of the receptor becomes like nothing. And so you need more insulin. And that's the whole idea of insulin resistance. So we become dumber when that happens, because think of it, your neurons are basically dying. In like, a neuron is just a brain cell. And there's a lot of insulin receptors within the brain. And it's not like when insulin's secreted, it's just going to be secreted, for the brain or for the muscle tissue or for the liver tissue. It's like it's secreted. So you are becoming dumber. Your liver is becoming fatter. There's tons of consequences from all of this happening. So, the constant snacking, the lack of walking, and the processed food, in this Western way of approaching medicine, there's a pill for every ill and there's a supplement for every symptom, is not the way it should be. But we've become so used to this in North America. But that's not, like I said, bigger isn't better. Even myself, I got the big glass of water here, but lately I'm just like, if I'm not thirsty, I'm not thirsty. Like, I'm not going to force myself to drink. I'll force myself to drink water when I'm thirsty. Like, I know that there's tons of great studies out there about, what water does for your skin, and people get headaches and really they're just dehydrated. But I mean, and water does help with bowel movements and, constipation. But I think these are the outliers. I think, you hear that and you just think, oh my God, I need to do that too. But like, I mean, I think, right? Like, I mean, we all know that it's important to drink water, but that's one other thing I noticed when I went to Europe. We'd go to a restaurant and we'd be served just like a small little glass of water, not these vats of water. And then, they come again and again and again with a water jug. And it's just like, it's like, how much water can you possibly drink? It's almost like a form of inflammation in itself. So yeah, I mean, I think we need to work less. I think we need to drive less. I think we need to walk more. I think we need to interact more with our neighbors. I mean, Europe sort of, it's good for that, like, because it's quite congestion, right? There's not much room, and we do love our space here in North America, but like, let's let's face it, it's very easy not for us to talk to our neighbor. It's very easy to go to these mass grocery stores and know nobody because it's a different cashier every single day. It's easier for Europeans, but I'm telling you, it's worth the effort. So it's worth the effort to be kinder to a neighbor, to make time, to realize that bigger is not better. The bigger house, the more cars are not the answer to your happiness. You know, maybe you want to, go to, decrease your size of your house, rather than increase it. Maybe you want to move into a condo and travel more. Like, I mean, I don't know, but like, you really have to sort of do some reflection and ask yourself, what really makes me happy? Is it all this rushing that I'm doing? Is this all this, like, my bank account getting bigger? Is it, meanwhile, I'm more depressed, I'm more anxious. I got so many other things on my mind. I got 20,000 things on my mind every single day. Like, I feel like I'm burning, both ends of the candle constantly. I'm burnt out. I'm miserable. My marriage is, whatever. So yeah, just wanted to get on here and talk to you a little bit and have you do a little bit more reflection yourself and become more mindful, journal more, and take those quiet moments for yourself during the day to really kind of reconsider where you're dropping the ball in terms of your lifestyle, especially your nutrition. And love yourself more. Be kind to yourself more. If you're going to be more kind to the cashier and the neighbor, you got to be more kind to yourself first. I will see you in a week. Thanks for listening and thanks for being loyal. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.